Hi everyone, it's Deb, also known as the Spatially Challenged Knitter. And this is the very, very late, it all happened in September, but as you can see behind me, it's now October, and not even 1st of October, it's like the middle of October. So this is the very late September issue. I'm going to start out with knitting, the little bit of knitting, that news that I have, and then I'm going to go into what it's like to go on a knitting trip and talk about my Vogue Scandinavia knitting trip. And so I'll put timestamps below. If you're only interested in the knitting and you're not interested in the traveling part, the knitting traveling part, you can bug out. Also, I need to say once again that I am really enjoying doing the podcast. Hope that you're enjoying watching the podcast. And I need you to like and subscribe on YouTube, please. And if you can pass the word around, it would be great if we could grow the channel a little bit. Also, I feel like I'm always the one doing the talking, and I guess I am because it's the podcast. But I'd really like to get some feedback from anybody that's watching. Are you enjoying it? I know it's kind of chaotic because I have been traveling so much and been kind of changing the format up. But if there's anything that you want me to talk about, particularly with knitting, or if you want more crocheting, I will definitely be bringing in more friends in the new year. It's been a little crazy with everybody's schedule, and I'll be traveling again here in November, going back to Iowa for a couple weeks for Thanksgiving. So I can't guarantee any friends showing up on the show, except for in little snippets. The other thing I wanted to say is this whole podcast was filmed in different snippets. So you're going to see I'm wearing lots of different things, and it's filmed in different places. So it's not a normal podcast where I sit at a table and people come to the table to visit me, and we basically stay in the same thing through. So there's going to be a lot of, there's the dryer noise. It's going to be a lot of kind of shifting back and forth. So it'll be a little bit different again in the format for this one. But anyway, hope you enjoy it, and happy Halloween to everyone. So hi, I'm back. And let's go ahead and do the knitting portion of the show. And then if you don't want to stick around for the travel/acquisitions part of the show, you can go ahead and skip it. So I have one finished object. Ooh, I'm so proud of myself. I had half of this done the last time, and I finished the other sock. I haven't blocked them yet, but these are the City Connect socks for Amy for Christmas. And I decided I was going to try and do something to make them a little more teamy. Because right now, I mean, if you know the colors, you know they're City Connect socks, but they don't say San Diego on them or anything. And at first I was going to try and duplicate stitch or embroider, and I'm like, who am I kidding? That will turn out really badly, and we all know it in our hearts. So I went to the last home game on Sunday, and they had this lanyard, which is made out of ribbon. And so I thought I could maybe cut it apart on either side of this thing that says SD on it. And I could use this on the side, the outside of each sock, and just stitch around it with gold thread. And so I'm going to try that and see how it looks. And we'll see what happens. But if that doesn't work, we'll have to come with another plan. But this is my idea right now, to make them more San Diego-ish, and so that everybody knows she's wearing City Connect socks. So, and then I've got enough, I think, that I can do San Diego on everybody's sock with all the SDs on the lanyard, and possibly even put, like on Mike's sock, which is bigger, I could even possibly put Padres. Not sure how that's gonna go. But anyway, so this was my finished object. And once again, this is the vanilla sock pattern by the Crazy Sock Lady. This is her fingering. I use two 9-inch circular needles. I use the ChowGoo 9-inch circulars. And then I go to magic loop when I have to start decreasing for the toe decreases. And this one was a little different. And I actually kind of like this, especially for Amy, because she does have a little bit of a smaller foot and ankle and leg. So I do cut the pattern down for her. I go down from, it's supposed to be 20 rows of ribbing, I do 15. It's supposed to be 60 rows of leg length, I did 40. And then I accidentally picked up the wrong sock pattern because I'm making another pair of socks for me, and did the foot, the heel gusset turn with the Hibernal socks pattern. And I actually kind of like it. When I had Amy try on the first sock because I wanted to see how I was doing for fit, and it fit her very well. So I might just keep using this Hibernal sock heel for at least Amy, and possibly for the boys, I'm not sure. Because it does seem really cushier than the other one, and a little bit shorter in length. Like it didn't take me as long to decrease down and get through the turn on the heel. So, and I did end up making it, I believe it's an inch shorter than her actual foot measurement, which, especially after it's been blocked, when she tried it on, she said she liked the fit of him. So my one completed finished object, woo-woo! I have a lot of works in progress. So let's go to whips. We'll start with my socks that I'm making for myself. And these are called the Hibernal socks. And I spoke about them, I think, on the last podcast, so I'm not gonna go through it too very much, but it's a design by Summer Lee. And she designed them to be extra long so she could scrunch them down, and she wanted them extra kind of big and cozy because she wanted them to be house socks. Now I did go up, I normally do 64 stitches for socks for me. I did go up to the 70 because they did say at the ladies at Apricot, who I believe were making these, and that's where I got the idea because I saw theirs and thought they were so cute, said they were making the bigger size because it, of all the cabling, fake cabling and ribbing and stuff, it kind of pulls the sock in the front. And to get their foot in and to have them be really comfy socks, they wanted to go up. And so I took their advice and went up to a 70 stitch, 70, 38, 76, 70, I don't know, something stitch. But it's more than my normal 64. And I've made quite a good amount of progress. I think I just had the cuff on before, and I'm actually a little over 4 inches now. I think I'm like at 4.5 inches. And I have to go to 8. And then at 8, you put in a piece of waste yarn for an afterthought heel and go ahead and just keep knitting down your foot length and go to your toe. And then when you get to the heel thing, you only knit the pattern across the front half of the sock, and the back half of the sock is in plain stockinette, which is going to make it go a lot faster, because right now you repeat the pattern twice for every round, the pattern on the chart twice for every round, and that takes you, front of the sock and back of the sock. And then once you get up to past the heel marker for your afterthought heel, you're going to put in, you're only going to do half of the pattern, so 36 stitches of pattern, 36 in stockinette for the bottom of the sock. So my plan on this is I sit down and knit at least 30 minutes a day on this. I started yesterday because I really would like to get these done. I think they're going to be great socks for fall. And they're pretty, and I want to get them done and wear them. And I know I won't unless I have a plan. So I'm making myself, this is the first thing that I do when I start knitting, because it does require me to sit there and look at the chart. Not look at the chart. This is the one that I wrote it out on the colored card, which I'm looking around to see if I have that over here at the table with me. I don't think I grabbed it, but I actually wrote it out on a thank you card, and oh yes, I do, and wrote the pattern out, and then did all my color coding so that I could keep my repeats and my rows in my mind, because I was having a terrible time. And the other thing, and just a little trick for a beginning knitter, I have my beginning of the round marker, which is my little pearl that I like to use for the beginning of the round. But also, since this has to be a repeated pattern twice, I put a stitch marker after the end of the first repeat. If I don't end up exactly where I'm supposed to be, then I could just rip back half of the row of the sock and figure out where I made my mistake and fix it without having to go all the way around to the end, realize I'm not at a good place at the end, and rip out the whole row to find where I made my mistake. So this works out for me. I know, like, people who do big sweaters and stuff, like when I get back to my purple fern sweater from Knitting for Olive, I'm gonna have to put in a lot of repeat markers so that I can keep them, every time I do the repeat, I can make sure that it's correct so that I don't end up with what I did before, which was I've missed a stitch, added a stitch, and my repeats going crookedy down the sweater, and I had to rip the whole thing back to the collar. So anyway, just a little tip: if you're doing a repeated chart, put especially like this for a sock, and it's repeated twice, put a little stitch marker in between, and then if you screw up, you only have to do half the sock. So anyway, that is the progress I've made on the Hibernal sock, and really it's not a lot of progress. I didn't knit on it when I was on the trip at all, hardly, because I was kind of tired and I knew I'd screw it up. And I also, because I have to look so closely at this, I get kind of motion sick, and I didn't want to be doing it when we were on the bus, on a ferry. It just was not a good thing. So I took them along. They got a free trip to Europe, but I didn't knit on them at all. So lesson learned on that one: bring stockinette or bring something that's easy, because something that you've got to constantly look at is not a good thing for me when I'm traveling. So anyway, that's work in progress number 1, the Hibernal sock for me. So then what I did work on quite a bit, and I don't even know if I had passed this on during the last show or talked about it at all. I had gone to Iowa and found the cowl pattern that I really, really liked in one of the knitting stores, and it's called the Kasiani Cowl. Put it up here so you can see it. And I just absolutely loved this cowl. And so I thought it would go with a ton. It's not too warm. And I thought it would be perfect for here in San Diego, just to give you a little extra warmth on a day where maybe the sun's not shining and you don't want to wear a full-on sweater, but you just want that little extra bit of warmth. And this is by Amy Christoffers. So anyway, and I'm making it in the Berocco yarn exactly in the colors that she showed in the pattern. And I don't know if I have this cast on it or not, but it is following a chart, and I'm just about through the fourth or fifth, maybe my fifth iteration of the chart, but it's a chart from mosaic knitting. And for some reason, my brain processes mosaic knitting extremely well. And so this, I was able to just glance at the chart. I had it like tacked up on the back of the seat in front of me, on the window, on my lap. I was able to just look at the chart, and once you've done it a few times, you know what you're doing, and you can just look and say, oh yeah, this is this row, and do it. So I made quite a bit of progress on this. This is, I believe I'm over halfway in the cowl, because I think if I do another half, it's gonna, and then it's blocked, because it will block out, it's going to be long enough. And so I'm going until I run out of the yarn, and then you do it flat, and it's mosaic knitting. And I'll show you the back as well, so you can see the back. So all the prettiness is on the front. And then you bind off at the end and sew the two ends together in a circle. So then you can choose, do you want it to be, you know, a straight circle? Do you want to do it with a twist already in it? But you have to have two balls of the main color, and I am almost through my first ball of the main color, and I would say I'm halfway through the color work colors, the two other color work colors. So I feel like I'm about halfway there. So I'm trying to give everything an amount of time so that I finish up projects, because I've got a lot of works in progress, and I've got a lot of new things that I want to get done. So I am giving this one 30 to 45 minutes of knitting time a day. And that gets me about through one repeat of the pattern. Yesterday I had messed it up on the bus because I was knitting when I was way too tired, and I had to take it back a little bit to fix it. And so I had to go back through that, get it all set up again, and then keep going. So anyway, this is the Kasiani cowl, and I'm super happy with it. It's really coming out well. And you can see down at the end, at first I was cutting every color, and then I thought, I am not going to weave in all these ends. I won't. And so I thought, why am I doing this? I can carry the colors up the side and put that as like my bottom edge, and it'll just kind of fold under anyway. No one will ever see it. And so that's what I decided to do, is carry it up the edge, twisting it as I go on every knit side. And then, so every third row, it gets twisted. Every second row, it gets twisted. Knit, purl, knit, purl. And then it carries up the side and carries all three colors up the side. And it's not all that different looking than the other side. In fact, it makes it a little more even than the other side. This is actually a little wavier, and hopefully this will straighten out a little bit in blocking. So anyway, that is my second work in progress. And could go blazing along on this one, and for me, knitting blazing along on this one. And I am very, very happy with the way it's turning out. I'm liking the fabric, I'm liking the pattern. It's fun. And then my third whip that I'm actually working on right now is something that I bought on the trip. And we went into the store and we saw this beautiful shawl, and it's a wrap. It's not even exactly a shawl. And it was, you picked it up and it was just so pretty. And you can see, like, my knitting, I don't know, I got a little hole here, but in the scheme of life, no one's ever gonna see it. And if they do, oh well. And so anyway, it's this beautiful shawl that's just, you do garter stitch, then you do 90 rows of stockinette. And this is, I have to go back in here, and because yesterday I was knitting this at the end of the day, I wanted to work on it a little bit, and I forgot and did garter stitch up in the middle of it. So I'm gonna have to go back and rip out a couple rows up here, which is horrible because this yarn is, we call it, all the knitters that got this kit, the kit is very, very deceptive. Let me see if I can grab this kit out of the acquisition pile, because here's the shawl, or the wrap. It's made with Ito yarn, and it's Ito Sensai yarn, which is 60% mohair, 40%, I can't even say this, SEIDE, whatever that is, and silk. And so it looks very substantial, and it feels very substantial when it was in the store. And it's basically, I'm not giving anything away, it's just basically a series of rectangles. So you're knitting your garter stitch, you knit 90 rows, you knit 100 rows, you knit 100 rows, you knit 100 rows. And it came in a thing like this. So it's gonna be a fade. So 100 rows of this, 100 rows of this, 100 rows of this, 90 rows, and then garter stitch at the end. So we all got these things thinking, oh, this is so cute, and this will be such a pretty wrap, because we all tried the wrap on, or looked at the wrap and felt it and everything, and it was so cute. But what you don't know is this yarn, I don't even know if you can see it, it's a cobweb. And it's not only that, it's a cobweb with little blobs of silk blobs every now and then, and they catch on each other. See, I don't even see if you, there, now you can really see it. See how the silk blobs kind of come out and they catch on each other like no other. And so you're knitting along, and you're knitting with yarn this fine on a size 7, actually. I went up, you were supposed to do a size 6, but you know, I'm a tight knitter, so I went up to a 7. So I'm using size 7 needles. And I would say I probably have at least 10 hours into this. And it's all messed up at the top just because I did garter stitch here. But you can see, it's gonna take the rest of my natural life. And so people who bought 2 and 3 kits because they thought, oh, they would just whip these up and give them to friends, because the kits themselves were a really good deal, were cursing when they saw my cobweb yarn. And when I was trying to cast on, and trying to do the knitted cast on, which I did not know how to do, and someone was showing me. And it's not a hard cast on, but it was super hard with this cobweb yarn. And I was just cursing life, and then I was casting on too tight. I've been knitting it too tightly. You have to be very, very careful because it will break. It's very strong in some ways, but everybody's afraid of breaking it. And so, it's a work in progress. It will be a work in progress probably for the next 10 years of my life. But I actually really do want to get this done because I think it's going to be so cool with the fade, and it's so soft and so airy. And it just was like this thing that I thought, oh, you know, that'd be so cool if you had on like a kind of a plain shirt and you just throw this on and it's kind of elegant looking. And if you don't look at the hole. But anyway, so this is my third work in progress. And I would assume that you will be seeing a little bit longer of the green for the next few episodes, and then we'll get into the next green, and you'll be seeing that for quite a while. So that shawl is, or wrap, is my third work in progress. And then we get into a swatch. And the swatch goes with some of my acquisition yarn. And so I want to show you the swatch, I'll show you the pattern, and then I'll go through some of the stuff that we did on the Vogue knitting live trip, because it was so much fun. I had such a great time. So anyway, one of the events that they had for us, it was a knitting lesson, and it was on color theory, was held in Oslo, Norway. And our teacher was, I'm gonna say her name wrong and I'm so sorry, Ingunn Bierkland, I'm not sure. But she took us through a color class, because as you can see, she loves color and she loves color work. And so she took us through a color works class, and then took us through a whole process. And then she said, and I have my book, which is unfortunately all in Norwegian, but they're bringing out patterns of mine and translating them, and they're issuing them one at a time on Ravelry. And not everyone in the book will be issued, but you're going to get the English edition on Saturday after we came back, and you'll get it for free. And it was like one of our perks for going to her class. So I decided she was wearing this sweater when she was teaching, and her mother was wearing another version of the sweater with a collar, and she had done more modifications for her mother. And I really decided that I wanted to make this for Amy, my oldest daughter. And I'd like to get it done by Christmas, and I think it's gonna go very quickly. Even though it's all over color work, I think it's gonna go really quickly, because when I was swatching, it was amazing how easy it was to do and to follow the chart. So I started swatching yesterday, and I'll show you all what we did in our color class, but here's my swatch so far. And it's not, all of these colors will show up in the sweater, or most of the colors will show up in the sweater, but this isn't the order or anything that they're going to go in. This was yarn that I had taken from the class to finish knitting a swatch that I was doing, and I figured, well, I've got all this yarn. I would like to not use the skeins that I bought for the sweater, because I don't want to run out of anything. I don't know how much extra I'm going to have. And so I just started swatching with the leftovers from the color work class. And she did say she's catching her floats every 4 to 5 stitches. And she does it where she catches it 4, 3, 2. So she catches her first floats at the 4th stitch. The second time around, she catches all of her floats at the 3rd stitch. The third time around, she catches all of them at the 2nd stitch. So that way, when she's going up the back, it naturally catches your floats, and you don't get that thing where you can see the colors through the lighter colored, like you can't see the green floats that are traveling behind through this lighter color because of the way she has you catch them. So I was really happy with how the floats are laying. It's super easy yarn to knit with, and it goes really quickly, especially after you've been knitting with that cobweb stuff. And I think this is going to knit up really quickly, and I'm going to be able to do this for Amy successfully. The one thing is it's a shorter length than what Amy likes. She likes a sweater that's more at her hips. So what she's told you for the modification is the sleeve actually is longer than the body of the sweater, which you can see. Here's the sleeve up here at the collar. Here's the end of the body of the sweater. Here's the end of the body of the sleeve. So you just follow the pattern for the chart for the sleeve to add extra length. And so you're charting off of your sleeve chart. And that's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to have to write that down. But it tells you exactly how to do it. And then also you can make the ribbing a little bit wider than what she did. Her ribbing is pretty much all the same here, all the way around it. And so you do the color work chart first, and then you go back in and you add the ribbing all the way around in the button band. So I'm going to have to really measure Amy today. And the nice thing is, in the pattern, she is really, really good about giving you schematics. So she's got the length of the sleeve, and she does this for every size, and she does it across the width of the sweater. And then you can see it comes in a little bit at the bottom with the ribbing. So you're going to have a little bit of either decreases down here, or the ribbing just pulls it in. And then she's got the length of the sweater. So she gives you very, very good schematics and measurements. So I figure as long as I measure Amy when she comes over today with the kids, I should be able to make this sweater, hopefully get it done in time for Christmas. So a few things that I had really kind of wanted to make for myself, I'm just going to kind of put on hold. And like I said, 2025 is going to be my year of selfish knitting, where I knit mainly for myself. I do have a baby gift I still need to knit up. Oh, because if you have watched the show before, one of my main friends who normally comes on the show with me is Jennifer. And Jen had baby Lena. So congratulations to Jen and baby Lena, who was overdue, did not want to come out. And then her mom was in labor for forever, but she is healthy. Mom and baby are both healthy and happy and cute as can be. So as soon as I'm done quarantining for coming back flying, because I didn't wear a mask at all. And, there's a new strain of COVID going around in Europe right now, and flu and everything else. So I'm staying home for a week because I do feel like I've caught maybe a little bit of a cold. And then I get to go see baby Lena and spend some time with the two of them. So super happy about that. Okay, so that was my swatch, which kind of now leads me into talking about the trip in general, and then also talking about the acquisitions of yarn that I got along the trip, and the books that I got also along the trip. Then next time, hopefully we will be back to a little bit more of a normal format, and I will have a guest. And hopefully we'll also be able to film in Needlecraft Cottage again, but this is the week before Yarn Crawl. Our San Diego Yarn Crawl is this coming Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And she is like super busy at the shop, and I didn't want to impose and film this week when she's trying to get ready for Yarn Crawl. So anyway, that's that on the regular part of the podcast anymore. But I'm back from my Vogue knitting Scandinavia trip, and I have to show you acquisitions. And I normally don't do this because I've said it before, kind of whatever yarn I buy is my business, and I buy it for stash and collect it, and that's kind of different than knitting it. But I have to show you what I got because I have never seen some of this yarn before, and it was truly amazing. And this is what happens when you let a knitter like me go on a trip to Scandinavia to buy yarn. This luggage I did not own until I went to a little place in Sweden at a truck stop, which was also a mall, and bought the 100-liter sized bag so I could bring home my acquisitions. So I want to talk to you about the knitting trip. So you all know that I had, because from the last podcast, I had arrived in Europe early. I wanted to go over early so that, because I don't do well with the time change, I've got 3-hour time change from California to the East Coast, and then I think it's like 5-hour time change to get to Europe. And so it takes me a while to stop waking up in the middle of the night and be able to go to bed before, like 2 a.m. And so anyway, I went early and I showed you my acquisitions from the London knitting store Loops, and then I went to the knitting store in Paris and showed you my acquisitions from the Paris knitting shop, I believe, in the last podcast. So I'm going to start basically with where I met up with the knitters in Scandinavia, in Copenhagen, so that I could go on the tour with them. So the first night we had a welcome dinner and got to know each other. And there were a lot of people that this was their second or third Vogue knitting tour, that they really like these. And I can see why. I'm super happy with the quality of the sightseeing, the quality of the local experts that they get, what we were able to do, because, obviously we're only in city for a couple days, and we are also doing yarny things and taking classes and stuff in the afternoons. So we're not able to sightsee like you would necessarily go, you didn't get to go to a lot of museums or a lot of churches or anything like that. So what they did pick, they picked specifically for a reason, like, you need to see this. And they did a great job of having what they call local specialists coming on to walking tours with us, on to the bus with us, giving us kind of like an overview of the whole city when we would arrive into a city, and then taking us to a couple really special places. And then also the yarny things were amazing. So first night we all met at the welcome dinner, and then the second morning was and we were like the yarn gods were smiling. We had one super rainy day, which was day one in Copenhagen. And then after that, and it was in the evening, it finally quit raining. And so we were able to walk to our dinner place. And then it was one of those trips where we would have gotten out and walked around a lot more, but it was kind of torrential downpouring at points in time, and nobody really wanted to tromp around in the rain and get wet and then get back on the bus, and we had a class in the afternoon. So anyway, we did a sightseeing tour in the morning, got to see the Little Mermaid, got to see the palace, got to see Old Town in Copenhagen. We had a great local specialist. She was really funny and she had great stories. And then in the afternoon, we took a class, and it was not like a class where you were actually constructing something, but it was a class where you learned a new way of constructing a sweater. And it was by Asa Tricosa, and it's called the Ziggurats method. And it's a completely different way of any way that I've ever seen before of how to put a sweater together. And they're basically seamless. So even though it looks like it's got a set-in sleeve, they're basically a seamless sweater. And she talked to us really about fit as well, and how to, because that was one of the things for people that had never knit garments, or for like me who have knit garments. And, you know, we all know what's happened to some of my sweaters, and, you know, how my mom's like sewing it on the sides to make it fit. So she was talking about sweaters, and she told me I was knitting a sweater that's like 3 to 4 sizes too big for me, because I've always done full bust measurement. That's what they always tell you. Measure your full bust, then go off of your full bust measurement. Well, my full bust measurement is my upper bust measurement and my band measurement, like on a bra, they're the same size. My full bust measurement is about 6 inches, 6.5 inches bigger than the top measurement and the bottom measurement. So she said, well, no wonder your sweaters don't fit you and they're too big all over, because you should be making the measurement for this measurement up here. And then I was like, well, you know, it's so hard to measure yourself, you know, because, okay, this is me being spatially challenged, you know, to get the tape measure back on your back. And she's like, no, measure your front. Measure from here to here. See, when they give you this schematic on the sweater, where is the shoulder seam hitting you? Where do you want it to hit you? Right here. Where's the shoulder seam? Measure from here to here. Then double that, because you want it to go across the back. And then you construct the sleeves separately. So then you measure across the cap of the sleeve, so that you get the fattest part of your arm is this upper bicep. So if you're measuring around here, that tells you the cap of the sleeve. And so she went through how to construct a sweater by doing this ziggurat method, and then getting a sweater that fits you. And I put on one of her sweaters, and this woman is a lot smaller than I am, but her sweaters have been tried on by a ton of people. And so they're a little bit stretched out. But I said, what size did you make? And I was putting on a sweater, one of the bigger oversized ones, and it fit me. And she said she knit like a 40, 42 or 44. And I was like, what? Because I've been knitting a 50 or even bigger than that. And she was like, well, no wonder your sweaters don't fit. So it was like a super interesting class. And I felt like I learned a lot about construction. And I bought her book because I just thought this was so interesting. And there's a couple of really good, just basic patterns in here that I would like to try this construction method and see if I can make a sweater that really fits me well using this construction method and using the ziggurat method. So, and also she's got a second book coming out. And of course, all of the patterns that I liked were in the second book, because I picked something up and try it on and say, is this one in the first book? No, that's in the second book. Is this one in the first book? No, it's in the second book. So hopefully the second book is going to come out soon, because she has some really beautiful, the ones in this one are really kind of basic classics. She does do a lot of pockets, and she has a special way of knitting pockets. And she also does a surprising thing with color, where she'll make the inside, when she makes a hem on something, she'll make the inside of the hem a different color, or she'll add a little teeny bit of color in a surprising place. So even though it's not necessarily like all over cable garment or something, there's always something that makes the garment interesting. Like this is the inside of the hem for this basic gray sweater called the, I have no idea, and I cannot speak Danish, Fubarit, sorry, but you can see up here. And she will put a surprise color here, and then it'll be on the inside of the cuffs too. And all of her sweaters have this hem in it. So it's a really clean looking sweater, really good classic sweater. So I want to give this one a try, and it was a super interesting workshop. And they also brought in some local yarn dyers and some somebody who made scarves, and I believe there was somebody who made stitch markers. And so they had like a little marketplace set up. And then also we could try her ziggurats on. And then the other thing she had, which was great actually, was she had some sweaters that she had knit as samples, and she was frogging. And she said, does anybody want to unwind, frog the sweater so you can see how it was knit and how the construction actually goes together? Because she had done diagrams, she had showed us pictures, she had walked us through the book, but it was still kind of hard to picture. So I frogged a huge sweater. It was done probably down to here. And I sat there and frogged it, and you could see, oh, here's where she switched from this side to this side. Here's where she did what, the thing that she was talking about. And I don't want to say anything because this is like a specific method that it is her own. And it made me see very clearly by frogging what she had done, how this worked together. And so, I really enjoyed it. It was something that I felt like I learned a lot, and she was just really sweet, really helpful, and it was a great class. So that was our first kind of lecture / class / thinking outside of the box on construction and looking at how working on the construction of a basic garment and getting that down could help you with all of the other garments that you want to make. So getting that really good fit so you know exactly how you want your sweater to fit. And you can measure off of this also. If you get something to fit you, use that as your base measurement and then look at the schematics for other sweaters. So highly recommend you take a look at this book and watch for the second book. She said she's a little behind in the second book, so I'm not sure when it's coming out, but really liked it. And she was really cool and signed it for us. So anyway, got the Ziggurat book. Then the next day, let's see, what did we do? In the morning, we went to let's see. We went on another travel adventure in the morning. And then we went to Onling in the afternoon. And this was just amazing. And I believe I can't remember. I think we might have done, I think we might have done a yarn crawl too. We went to a little knitting store. I think we went to a couple knitting stores. But this first knitting store was in this little teeny tiny town. I'm looking to see if there was a price tag on here, just because this was the funniest thing. I got a lot of this Rama yarn, which I'm not really familiar with because it doesn't usually show up very much around here. And she had just sitting outside where there was actually, I was picking leaves out of this yarn. It was in a sale bin, and it was either 50% off or 70% off. I can't even remember, but I got a bunch of this Rama Garn Alpaca Lin, which is 48% baby alpaca, 8% wool, whatever that is, 44% lin, whatever that is. I'm assuming that's a kind of sheep. I don't know. And 50 grams is 175 meters. And so it's like a kind of like a mohair type thing. Well, alpaca, but it's not thin. It's not as spider web. It's almost like, I want to say like a sport to a DK. I'm not sure. I should have looked up what it is. But anyway, I was able to get out in the leaf basket outside the shop, was able to get like, I think 11 of these balls of yarn and a sweater quantity. Look, you can actually see here's a leaf from Copenhagen, outside of Copenhagen. But it was like literally sitting there and then in the baskets outside the shop. And then as the leaves would blow up the street, because the leaves were starting to turn, you would get a leaf blowing into the basket. So I was able to get a sweater quantity of this, and I thought it would be really cool to make just a nice, it'll be a fairly light sweater if I don't hold it with anything else. But I really like this. I like this color. I think it's a good color for me. And it just kind of spoke to me sitting there in its lonely little sale basket. And then I went inside and, that's the first thing I always do when I go into a yarn shop is look at their sale baskets, because I've really scored with some of the yarn that I've been able to get in sale baskets. When I went inside, she had another sale basket, and she had the Isager Merlin. And this is 80% wool, 20% flax. So I thought that was kind of a cool mixture, because it's got the flax is kind of like little flecky. And so it's like the same color. I don't know what it was, but I definitely went on color tangents on these days. But I really thought, wow, this might be really cool to try one of the Ziggurat sweaters with this. I'll have to look and see if I've got enough, but I got all that they had in the sale basket in this color. And then I think I had to buy a couple of full price skeins. And what it was they had gotten in the same color, because it's a color that they carry in the shop, but it was a different dye lot. So they put the old dye lot on sale, and had the new dye lot. So it's so close that I didn't really feel like there was a difference between the old dye lot and the new dye lot. So the one without the X on it is the new dye lot, this one on the left, your right maybe. And then the one with the X on it is the old dye lot. And there you can't tell, you really can't tell. And so I thought this would be great to try one of those Ziggurat sweaters. It just looks like a yarn that's gonna hold its shape, and I think it would be great. And if it's not the softest yarn in the world, it's not super scratchy, but it's not like a merino, but it's soft enough that, if you just wore a t-shirt underneath it, I think you'd be fine. And I don't have a particularly I'm not particularly sensitive to wool, so I don't think it'll bother me anyway. So anyway, I thought I would try the Ziggurat with this yarn. And I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do with this yet, but there's so many patterns that have come out that only use like a heavy mohair-y, alpaca-y kind of yarn. I thought I should be able to find something to do with it. And I loved it. And I love the way it has the white in it too. So when you knit it up, it's not going to be a solid color. It's going to have some natural variegation in it. And I really do like that when I knit. So anyway, those were my 2 sale things. And then I was able to get a ball of just a cream color of the Isager Highland wool that was also on sale on the X, and it's 100% wool. And I just thought, who doesn't need a ball of cream? That's like such a good thing to have in your stash. And I was able to get a ball of, she had her own line of cashmere, Garnvark. Was the name of the place that we were, Garnvark. Let me put it clear up there so you can see that. Ooh, sorry. And she was able to get her own line of cashmere. And it was ridiculously cheap. People were buying whole sweater bags of this cashmere to make themselves sweaters. And I feel like it's maybe sport weightish. But I think I got 2 balls of it, because I thought, even like that with this cream wool to make something would be pretty, or I didn't know what I'd do, but I thought, if I get 50 grams of it, I'll find something, even if it's just a little scarf to put around my neck. I will do something with it, and I just thought it was pretty cool. So I got their cashmere. So all together for like 11 things of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 6. I think I got 8 of this Isager. And then the cashmere and the 2 extra was $180. I mean, I normally don't talk about prices and stuff, but that was amazing to get 11 grams of alpaca and all of that wool yarn. So I have enough for 2 sweaters, a scarf, and then that thing of cream yarn, just because you can always use cream to do something with. That's crazy. That's just crazy. That's less than $90 for a sweater quantity of wool. And it's wool. This is really good wool. So I just thought I hit the mother lode there. So they couldn't dig me out of the sale bins. I was like literally hanging out in the sale bins, and everybody else was like running to the cashmere. And I was like, yeah, I can do without the cashmere. I want the sale stuff. So I just scored majorly and hit the mother lode at this little yarn shop. And it was so much fun. And then we had lunch out in the sunshine, and then got back on the bus and went in. We went out to dinner that night. It was just really super nice. Was able to go walk around, take some pictures in Copenhagen. Wasn't in with really anybody in the crowd yet, so I was on my own that night, but was fine. So anyway, the next day we went to Onling. And we went out in the morning. I'm not sure what we did in the morning. Oh, I just found one of the souvenirs for the kids, a koala pencil. Must have shoved some and the peppermints. Oh, so we got these cool, like this is where they first started making peppermint candy. So I got those for the kids. And I hope they like it, because it's like the best peppermint. So put it in their souvenir pile. Let's see. Oh, and I got a butterscotch for my husband and myself, or possibly give it to the kids. This was the London yarn. This was for Braddy's sweater, which I want to do mosaic knitting and do him a little wool sweater. And sorry, I should have been more organized and actually looked at this stuff before. But we went to Onling, and I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Onling before. I really like their patterns, and so I was familiar with them, and I have a bazillion of their patterns in my favorites on Ravelry. So that's how I knew about Onling. But they're a Danish brand, and they invited us into their warehouse. And so we went to the warehouse, and the really cool thing about it was when we came in, she said, okay, she had given us a free pattern, and the pattern is it's a bandana, but it's kind of along the lines of the Sophie scarf, where it's garter stitch, but it actually has the point of a bandana, and you could do it with one ball of yarn, which she gave us the Onling #1 super soft wool and Angora, 75% superfine wool, 25% Angora, 50 grams is 100 meters. And she gave us this to make the scarf out of. You could go over on the wall and pick the color out that you wanted from the wall. And so you could do a smaller version, like the small version of the Sophie scarf that just goes around once and ties and then has the bandana point in the back. Or you could take 2 balls and do this larger version that you can wrap around a couple times, or wear the bandana in the front, have it come down, or bandana hanging down in the back. And this is called the Easy Peasy Bandana, and it's by Katrine Hannibal. And Katrine Hannibal is the force behind Onling. And the best part about this was she had all of her samples. So all of these sweaters that I had been oohing and awing over on Ravelry, and ooh, I think I'd like to make this one. Ooh, I think I'd like to make this one. Ooh, this one's so interesting. And she really, the patterns on them, they're different, they're interesting. It's not just your basics. That she has a lot of geometrics in her sweaters. There's traditional type sweaters too, but she also has a lot of geometrics and interesting placements of stripes and interesting color placements. And she, so the cool thing was she had all the samples. So we were able to go up and try on all of these sweaters that are the ones that you see on Ravelry. So I was able to go put this on and say, oh yeah, I thought this would be so cool, but oh my God, no, never. And ones that I would have never picked up, I would see someone else trying it on, and then I would go look at it and I would try it on. And I'm gonna send for 2 kits. She didn't have her kits in there. They were in a different part of the warehouse. So you would order the kits online and they would send them to you. So I'm actually going to order 2 of the kits for longer cardigans. And I'm going to sort through my sweaters, and a lot of my cardigans, when I first started buying cardigans, were very short, the cropped ones, and that is just not me anymore. I don't like that look on me. I used to wear them to work with dresses, and so I didn't mind if it was more of a cropped cardigan, because I was wearing it with a long dress. And I don't wear dresses that much anymore. I mean, I'll keep a couple of them, but I just don't wear them. And it's stupid to have them sitting in a drawer and nobody getting any use out of them, when I could donate them and people could get use out of a sweater. So I am going to donate a bunch of my older cardigans, and I like a long cardigan. That's the kind that I'm comfortable in. That's the kind that I reach for all the time. And so I also have a few of those that are huge that I can wrap around myself like completely to the back again. And I need to sort through some of those. And I'll probably hang on to a couple of those because I just truly do like them for hanging around the house in the winter, and especially at night when it's cold and you put your slippers on and you've got your sweatpants on and you've got one of these gigantic cardigans on. But once I replace them with a couple that I knit, then those are going to have to go too, because they are like so big and sloppy. They're just ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. So I couldn't decide between these two colors, this pink and this green. I just thought they were both so pretty and I liked them together for some reason. So anyway, she's got a striped version of the Easy Peasy bandana. So I'm going to knit this in the striped version of the Easy Peasy bandana and use this green and this pink and make that for probably myself, because I really like it. And I think it's, you know, one of those things that, okay, so here's a white shirt. You throw on your little Easy Peasy bandana and my black jacket, a black sweater, and you walk out the door with a pair of jeans on. And it's, you know, little zhuzh at the neck, not hot because it's not a super heavy wool. It's nice and light, super fine wool. And so you don't have to worry about overheating, and it just gives you that little something extra. And so I'm going to do her striped Easy Peasy bandana, and I'm not sure if that's the name of it, but it's the striped version of it, and use the 2 balls of yarn. So I got enough to make a nice big one that I can have down the front, or fold the bandana under like what some of the people were doing on the bus. They would just fold it under so it was more like a rectangular scarf, like a Sophie scarf. But you get that extra warmth either in the front or the back of that extra layer of bandana if you want it. And I'm gonna make that for myself. So that was from Onling, and oh my gosh, if you have never looked at their patterns, once again, go on Ravelry, look this company up, go on their website if you want to order some kits. They are incredible. And their yarn, they have their own yarn brand, and their yarn is incredible. So everybody that made their scarves could not believe how soft the scarves were once they got them done. That was, people were sitting at the table knitting, people were trying on. I was a big trier-oner because I had liked so many of the patterns. But as the trip progressed, every day someone would get a scarf done and then they'd be wearing their little bandana scarf. So that was our trip to Onling, and highly, highly recommend the patterns. Then we traveled. So we traveled out of Denmark and went into Sweden. And in Sweden, we stopped along the way and had lunch at this amazing, if I could find the card, because I kept it and I put a pin in my phone in case Pam and I ever travel, I wanted to stay there. It's a bed and breakfast. It's a husband and wife that took it over. They made a bed and breakfast with a few rooms upstairs, and then they have their restaurant underneath. Amazing food. We stopped there for lunch. It was just incredible. He's won a lot of awards. It's great. I will try to find the name of that for you, because you should stop if you ever are between Copenhagen and Stockholm. Anyway, then we did, the next day, we did a yarn shop crawl. And so we did just a minute. Oh, and then that night was a Swedish meal in a local restaurant. So when we were doing the yarn shop crawl, I started getting fixated on stitch markers and buttons. And I thought, what a great thing to bring back for all of my knitting friends here in San Diego, to let them choose from the stitch markers. So I got some really cute, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this without dropping them, really super cute stitch markers. And was able to get different ones at different places that we went to. Let me see. Oh, found this at one of our yarn stops. I don't have any idea what I'm gonna do with it, but I just thought it was so cool. It's called, I can't say, I'm so sorry. I have absolutely no Dutch or Swedish or Norwegian in my soul, and I cannot say it, but the producer of it, it's made in Italy, but it's called Garnverk DK, GARNVAERK.DK, and this was their chunky mohair. And it is like super chunky mohair. It's like that rust stuff that I got that was alpaca. And I thought, you know, just having this and holding this with one other yarn and making some kind of scarf or hat or mittens, or scarf and mittens for somebody for a gift would be something really cool. So I got that as a gift yarn to go with. It would look cool with a navy, I think. It would look cool with a white. I just think you could do a lot with it, and do, you know, some kind of either color work or just hold the two together and marl it. But I thought that was really cute. So I got that, and I got some stitch markers, and let's see, that was really kind of my, oh, no, it wasn't. And then I found a dream yarn. So I found this yarn that I've never seen before. It's made in Italy, and it was called Tweed Supreme. And it's called Majo. If you were saying it in Spanish, it would be Majo. If you're saying it in Dutch or Norwegian, it might be Majo. I'm not sure. But anyway, it says soft, comfortable, next to the skin quality, 100% natural, sustainable yarns. And they're spun in Italy for them. And this, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a cream, but it has flecks of brown and gold and blue. And it's just so super cute. And so I bought either a sweater's quantity or enough to do 2 vests. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do a sweater for me out of it and just keep all the cream, or if I'm going to make Amy and I a vest. I have had my eye for a while on that one petite knit vest with the button on the side. I'll put the pattern up here, and I wanted to make, I think it has a turtleneck, and I wanted to make the turtleneck detachable. So make just like a turtleneck to go on top of it, and then do like a folded over or a rib neck, however she finishes the bottom, I can't remember. So I'll put the pattern up. And I was thinking about that, or I'll find a sweater, because this is so pretty. I could see doing an Isabel Kramer sweater, a Joji Locatelli sweater, it's just great. So anyway, I bought enough for a sweater out of this Tweed Supreme. And it was not super expensive. That was the biggest surprise for all of us on the trip, was that, you know, we're used to going into a yarn shop here, and if you get a wool and it's a good wool, like it's a soft next to skin wool, you're going to pay for it. And it was amazing to see that. One thing was we had a great exchange rate too. And I just found some soap for the grandkids that I had stuck down in the yarn so it wouldn't get smushed. More pencils. But it was next to skin soft, really quality yarn, and it was not expensive. It wasn't $30 some a skein, $40 some a skein, which you pay for when you get a wool yarn here. Now, you know, not every brand is that expensive, but a lot of them are. You have to figure you'll probably at least be in the 20s. And these weren't the little 25 gram balls either. This, I believe, is a 50 gram ball. I'm trying to look at what it says. It doesn't have a lot of information on here, to be very honest. I'm sure it's on here. 50 grams is 350 meters, super fine merino wool. So it was very reasonable. And yes, it's super fine, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with knitting with like a fingering weight yarn and doing a sweater with a fingering weight yarn if it's going to be worth my while in the end. And a sweater made out of this would be worth my while in the end. So it's not fast fashion. It is definitely slow fashion. And then, let's see. So that was in another yarn shop. In fact, people were laughing at me because I was just completely dying over some of these yarns. Oh, here's the hand-dyed yarn that I got with the lady that at the marketplace. I'm sorry, I kind of out of order here, but it was the yarn that we got at the Ziggurat marketplace. I got some of the Danish dye lots sock yarn. So it's merino, nylon, and 400 meters in 100 grams. And so I got that, and I got some of this to do toes with, because I just thought that was cute, and it could be toes and heels. And this is Nordic Yarn Lab Vimmerby. But anyway, just thought that was super cute. I think they gave that to us, but I did buy the two soft yarns because I thought they were pretty. Okay, then let's see. I went on a green binge. I don't know why. This trip was like about the green for me, and I kept finding greens that I liked. So I found some Pasquale Pinta, which is organic merino, silk, and rami. And it was another kind of, I feel like it's, I don't know, like a sport or DK, I don't know. But I just thought it was so, so pretty. And just a really good green. It's coming off like a little darker here than it actually is. It's a little bit brighter green, but I love the color. So I got a sweater quantity of that and found, I feel like this was also in a sale bin somewhere and I fished it all out. Because I feel like I got a really good deal on this. And this for sure, Nepal was in a sale bin. And it's the same brand, Pasquale, but it is cotton and linen. And, oh no, I know what this is. Oh, no. There was a store, and we went to this store, and they had sweaters hanging in the window. And I wanted to make some of their sweaters. And so I got the Pasquale, the green, to make a cardigan that was hanging in their window, and got the name of the pattern. And then this one was to make like a summer t-shirt. And this pink one was on sale because it was a summer yarn. And the green, I can't remember if it was on sale or not, but I thought the pink was super pretty for a summer t-shirt. So I got enough to make a summer t-shirt, and I got an extra. They didn't have any more pink. So I thought if I had to, and I didn't have quite enough for a shirt that I wanted to make, I got a couple of the cream color that was in the sale bin, and I thought I could do stripes. So I could do a pink shirt with cream colored stripes, or some kind of design where it's got a second color in it, and the pink and the cream would go together, and that would for sure give me enough for a nice long t-shirt for the summer. So this one I did find in the sale bin, but in Sweden. But this one, I don't think it was on sale. But it is going to be that cardigan that was in their window. And then there was one other sweater in their window that I could not resist, and it's all falling out. And it was an all over eyelet, and it's with mohair, and it's the Tilia 70% kid mohair, 30% silk by Lana. And you held that and made this really, really pretty, and it's another cobweb. And you make this really pretty sweater that's got all over eyelets, and it's gorgeous. But it's definitely a summer sweater. So this one we'll put away till next summer. Oh, and no, you hold it with, I'm pretty sure you held this with another yarn. You hold this with the Lana Arwetta. So you hold the strand of mohair with this Arwetta, and you get the two of them put together, and it makes this really beautiful summer shirt. So I saw it in the window, and the clerk was able to fix me up, and I got it, and that's for next summer. And we're getting down to the end. Oh my gosh, my raincoat. Well, my souvenir raincoat from France, because I left my raincoat. It was raining. I got onto the train, put my umbrella and my raincoat up into the little teeny tiny shelf that was not big enough to fit a suitcase. It was big enough to fit your purse, your raincoat, your umbrella, and left my raincoat and my umbrella as I was getting off the train because it wasn't raining anymore. And I forgot I had put it up there. And so it's still traveling around somewhere in France and Northern Europe. But I got a souvenir raincoat that you can put the strap around, and you can fold it up even smaller than this, but it was my replacement raincoat, and I had to get a replacement umbrella because it did rain. So it was raining a lot in France, and we did have our little bit of rain. So my raincoat souvenir. Let's see. I've got like one other yarn, I think. Not quite sure what I got it for. And then I can't find the buttons. I'll have to find them. That was the other thing that I went on a binge. I not only stitch markers, and here's some more stitch markers that I got for the girls to choose from. And oh no, these were the little tags. They're little teeny tiny silver tags that say handmade with love. And so you can sew them on to the back of like a sweater or on the side of a hat, and they say handmade with love. So I thought those were cute, and I thought I would give a couple to everyone. Jen and Julie and Chris and Emily. Oops. I just found my other stitch markers and it was holding the camera up. So we're not gonna see those, I guess, because I cannot find my tripod today. I don't know where I put it. So I've got this janky setup again. Then the last thing and the biggest thing, let me see. And Kathy, oh my gosh, Kathy made us needle, one of our tour people, a needle holder. Isn't this cute? So super cute. And it's got a little sheep on it. And she said, you know, she wants us to keep our needles in it and then think of her whenever we get the sheep out. So this was so super cute and so sweet of her. She handmade all these for everybody on the trip. And I've got some more green yarn and I don't know what I got it for. So we won't talk about that right now. It's more of the Arwetta. But I want to go over the last thing because this was so super cool. And it was really one of the highlights of the trip for me. Was going to the last class that we did. We didn't really take a class in, my Christmas tree ornament has the little red Swedish horse on it that you see all over Sweden. And I got one for the Christmas tree so I can add it to that. Just found it in the bottom of the yarn bag. But anyway, then I will quit rambling. So we went to a workshop. And the workshop was put on in Oslo, which was our last stop. And the workshop was put on by Ingunn Bierkland. This is her crochet book, and it's in Norwegian. And I bought it for Emily Hagstrom. And it's got the most cool crochet patterns you've ever seen in your life on here that a teenage girl would think was cool. And we went to a color workshop with Ingunn. And because as you can see, color is her thing. Color is her jam. And I figured she could use Google Translate and figure this out and make some really cool stuff out of this because she's done enough crocheting that I think she can figure it out. And I mean, like, seriously, look at this dress. If I was a crocheter and I was a teenager or in my 20s, I would so make this dress. It would be on me in a second. And just incredibly cute things. So anyway, this was Emily's present, kind of, I think she just had a birthday / Christmas present. And then we got to do a color class. And the whole thing was a color theory class. So the workshop was called Knitting with Colors. And here she is. And she was wearing this sweater, and her mother had on a sweater like this. And it is literally color, 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 all down the front, all down the sleeves, all down the back. And it's just bands of color. And it is so incredible. And she took us through the color wheel. She took us through how to choose complementary colors, how to choose colors that were on opposite sides of the color wheel, why you want to choose, sometimes you want to choose complementary colors, why you want to choose contrast colors. And then she had yarn, Rama yarn, Rama Garn, which I since found out I wouldn't necessarily have needed to buy this there because I guess the Woolly Thistle sells this in the United States. But I didn't know if they would have all the colors that I needed. And you can see this one has a D on it because I got enough to make me a sweater, the cardigan that she had made for her mother, and to make Amy a sweater for Christmas. And I showed you the swatch that I had worked on for Amy and the pattern. But I want to show you like what she did, how she took us through this. What you did was you wandered up and down the table, and she had literally every color of yarn that they make, every single color of yarn that they make. And you wound off little scraps of yarn. And then she wanted you to put, I believe it was either 12 or 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 11 on here. So that's evidently all I could fit on my card. But she had you pick all the yarn that you thought you might like together. And then she took a thing of double sticky tape. And once you thought you had it in an order that was pleasing to you, then she had you tape it down and commit to it. And then she gave you patterns, a chart where she said, okay, now look, if you do the sequence, you can see how each one of these has a different value of the amount of the color that's in it. And it's like, if you do the sequence this way, this is what it would look like. If you do the sequence this way, this is what it would look like. If you do the sequence this way, this is what it would look like. And so you needed to decide which one was more pleasing to you and which one you wanted to follow. And then eventually you would get into the squares, which is the pattern for the sweater, the squares. But I stuck with the my first swatch. And I wanted to just see how far could I get on my first swatch and what would it turn out like. So I went and knit my swatch, and I have got stuff all over my table now. But I did buy her Norwegian book too. This is the colors of the sweater that I'm going to do. These colors that are on the cover. But I'm going, and look at this vest. So it's the same patterns, but different color values, and it makes it look totally different. It's just a basic shape though. And she has the sweater that I'm going to make for Amy. She has, look at this one with a dark, like black. But once again, it's all squares. It's all geometric squares. So I figured from the English translation of the pattern that we got and being able to read the charts, I should be able to figure this out. So this is the sweater that she made for her mother, but she modified it. It's the same exact sweater the cardigan pattern as the one for Amy, but you can see it's got this open collar, and then she doubled up on the ribbing. But her mother had her modify it, and she just kept the pattern long and did the pattern like down to here on the body. So it was the same length as the sleeves, basically, and then did the smaller ribbing. She didn't have her do the double ribbing. And that's what I'm going to do for myself in these colors. And so this is what it takes to do that. Here is the yarn, because it takes, I believe for my sweater, 17 colors of yarn to do that. And we needed to get 2 balls of each color plus the background color, because I'm lengthening the body in pattern and not just doing ribbing, we weren't sure how much of one color I need, how much of another color I need. And since this Rama is not easy to get here, and I wanted to get it all from the same dye lot and, you know, not have to worry about it, I bought 2 balls of every color that I needed for the body. So instead of 14, I've got 28 balls, but it's 14 colors, I believe, 17 colors. So 34 balls of yarn, plus the background. Amy's cardigan has a yellow, this yellow for the main color, and hers, I believe, has 14. And that was the one that I showed you with the swatch, the cardigan. So this was incredible. It's not a soft yarn, but it's great for color work. You know how like a soft yarn is not great for color work because it's too slippy? This has got that grippiness that you need to have for color work. And it was not, I mean, it's not inexpensive when you end up having to buy 14 different colors to 15 when you consider one of them is the background color. No, 14, because one of those included the background color. But the yarn was $5 a ball or less. It was 4 something a ball. So it was a lot of yarn, but it was, once again, like such a reasonable price for the yarn. It was just incredible. So that's my haul. I mean, I would highly, highly, highly recommend, if you are interested in taking a knitting trip that combines knitting with travel, Vogue Knitting Live, Carla, Kathy, they were amazing. Carla works for Vogue, Kathy works for the travel company. They were amazing. They were with us the whole time. They were personable. They were eating with us. They were knitting with us. They were having a great time. And they did such a good job. I really highly recommend this because I thought it struck the right balance to me of, if I'm paying to go to Europe and going to a foreign country that I've never been to before, I want to do some sightseeing. But I want to get something in knitting that I couldn't have necessarily gotten back in the United States. So learning the Ziggurat method from the person that lives there and made that up, that was something cool. Learning the color theory class from someone who's such a master of color, and then having her give us the pattern, and then being able to buy the book so I can do other things by her, because it just, to me, was so striking. And I just love it. Was totally worth it. And the other thing was, I was walking by, we found a lot of secondhand stores. It's really, really big over in the Scandinavian countries to reuse everything, to repurpose things, to buy less and buy better quality, versus, like quick fashion. And I was walking by the secondhand store and found this, it was called UF. And it is a hand knit vest that someone already knit. And I think it's going to fit Amy perfectly. And it was $25. And it's like, you couldn't, to buy the yarn and do the knitting would have been the yarn alone is probably $25. Then plus you've got all the knitting time. So I was able to get this really cool hand knit, no tags. Someone hand knit this. And they had sweater after sweater after sweater in these secondhand shops that had been hand knit and had been taken care of, and that people were passing down because when they got tired of it, or someone outgrew it, or for whatever reason, they passed it down. And so it was just a great trip as far as like sustainability, craftsmanship, not just, every time I podcast, I'm going to have 10 new things that I've done for you because I'm just going to wonk them out as fast as I can. It's about craftsmanship. It's about thoughtful choices, thoughtful color choices, thoughtful construction choices, thoughtful fit choices. And so I really, really appreciated all of the picks that they put together for us through Vogue Knitting, that they have the connections to these people, that they can get you into their workshops, that they can give you the time with these people to ask questions, to get ideas. And so I really want to say thank you to Kathy and to Kat, our tour guide from Trafalgar, to Norby, our wonderful, wonderful bus driver who did things with that bus that you would not believe. How he could parallel park a bus or go around a corner without scratching the bus when you were this far away from something. It was incredible. And Kathy from the tour agency, and Carla from Vogue Knitting, because I would go back in a heartbeat. In fact, we decided, a bunch of us, that we were going to meet in January at Vogue Knitting Live in New York City, because a bunch of them already went, and some people are going for the first time, but we're all going to get together and go out to dinner because we had such a good time. And by the end of the trip, you knew pretty much everybody, and you were able to make friendships. And so we're going to get together in January, and hopefully I'll have some things to show them that I've completed in January, at least my 2-stripy scarf and the finished cowl, because in New York in January I can wear some of this stuff. But I highly, highly recommend, if you're looking for a knitting trip, to look at Vogue Knitting, because they did a fantastic job. And then I have Knitting in the Wild coming up next. I was knitting when we were on our boat or ship, and we were taking our tour through the fjords of Norway. And it was so tranquil. It was beautiful. It was sunny. It was a warm day. We were just wearing shirts. I don't even know if I had a sweater on. I think I had a shirt and a leather jacket maybe. But it was amazing, and so quiet, so peaceful out on the fjords. And so that's Knitting in the Wild. And I think that's it. Hello, everybody. I'm getting ready to go out on the Norwegian fjords instead of fords, and I'm doing my Knitting in the Wild. I've got my new favorite needle stoppers on. Hello, I'm trying my best, and I started this cobweb scarf that we all found at a yarn shop in Stockholm and did not know I would be knitting with cobwebs for the rest of my life, I think. I don't know if this will ever get done. It takes 90 rows of stockinette. So I just wanted to let you know we are out here. It's the most beautiful sunny day. I will turn around so you can see the fjords. And enjoy being in Norway in the sun with knitters. Bye. A lot of knitting. So anyway, thank you for spending the time with me. If you did, I'm gonna put up some vacation pictures there at the end. We went to an ice bar in Stockholm. I've got a cute little video of us in ponchos in the ice bar, and some travel pictures, so you can skip it or skip ahead. And happy knitting, and see you next month.